Alright, today I'm reviewing Liquid Tension Experiment, the first album. They are a progressive metal jazz fusion band, or probably the reciprocal jazz fusion progressive metal done by members of Dream Theater. It's John Petrucci, Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy recently joined Dream Theater. Interestingly enough, they were trying to get Billy Sheehan to be the bassist, and it didn't work out, but yeah, this is a really cool, like, jam band-esque album. It's like progressive metal, jam band, jazz fusion combined. Jam band's a genre that was pretty much created by Phish, and there's some really cool jam bands. Lotus, I saw them live a few years ago. Yeah, this is a really neat take on some Dream Theater musicianship. It's more keyboard driven, which is really interesting. It's more Jordan Rudess. I feel like this album deals a little more with the other three musicians that aren't Petrucci, and it's highlights them a little more. And everything's instrumental. There's some really interesting stuff about this. It's really catchy. It has some classical elements. Some of the piano stuff reminds me because the Dream Theater musicians try to reference other things in pop culture, or they'll reference some of their side projects, or sometimes they do completely other things. Like Dream Theater at one point toured as a band called Nightmare Cinema, the opposite of Dream Theater. So this is they do some of it reminds me of the beginning of 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. There's some piano stuff that Rudess does that reminds me of 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. This is really, really cool. The song 3 Minute Warning at the end is 28.5 minutes, and it was a jam thing that they pulled together, and they managed to record the entire thing, and it's 28.5 minutes. Probably, as far as my favorite song on this, the stretch is really, really cool. It's a really fast, technical, progressive metal, jazz, funk album, and what more could you want from a really cool instrumental album with some of the best musicians there are? So I suggest you set aside some time, listen to this. It's a long CD, that's fine. It's over, and it'll take a while, and go over the booklet. It's really cool. Same thing. There's a lot of really neat information in here. And there's a lot of other stuff to it, like Tony Levin plays upright bass as well and stuff like that. But also, at one point they were trying to get Billy Sheehan to be in Liquid Tension Experiment, and that's really, really cool. But it's set aside some time, listen to this, and it's another one of those albums that, even though this isn't a concept album, I suggest you listen to the entire album at once, usually when you listen to it, because it's a different kind of thing when you sit down and listen to the whole album versus a track here and there, maybe like if you're going to work. I also do not suggest, this is not like a daily commute album, because there's just so much here. I've heard that like some Tool albums and other stuff, it's not really a daily commute because it's just so deep and complex, and this is kind of one of those things. You should really sit down and focus on this while you're listening to it, like with a jazz or prog rock album. So thank you and enjoy.